Dum de dum de dum de dum. Dum de dum de dum de dum. I hit the button. Done did it. Where's my little posts about going about streamings? That ain't it. Should we just post Twitch this time? I don't know. Twitch seems easy because it's just like that. Merp. Yeah. Maybe here too. I like elk. Discord. That's the Shop Talk Discord, which is a very happy place. What happened there? I gotta hit record in my little app. So I have a local copy. I'm concerned that the quality of the video sharing is low. I don't really know why. I can move the window a little bit. And I decided to share like a portion of my entire browser window today because I thought if we have to jump into Firefox or something, that we could do it. All right, I'm just going to actually start. Now, welcome to the stream. It says there's one viewer, which is one more than yesterday, I guess. I was just at CSS Day in Amsterdam, and it was amazing. I loved every second of it. Oh, that's funny. They have the 2026 stuff up already. But back in 2025, when I was just there last week, man, I loved every single one of these talks. But one that's on my mind at the moment was from Brecht, Styling Selects. There was Tim talked about form control styling, which is very interesting too, but it's kind of like in the right order here because it's like this select stuff like opened the floodgates for a lot more form control styling. So we can get into that a little bit, but Brecht was the perfect person to do it. His blog is utilitybend.com, and this is like the first of 3 blog posts he has done about the customizable select. And there's other resources out there too, but man, there's a lot to look at here. It's an interesting demo. Like, look at that. Look at how non-native that looks. But that is certainly doable now with this new customizable select work. Although, check out the baseline widget. We're looking at it right now. Oops. Gosh, it's hard to like, I don't know. I'm still getting used to this. It's over there. This is the widget that Google puts out about web platform features. And it was funny, they were at CSS Day as well. A whole bunch of the Google team. Adam was there too, who's no longer on the team, which is very sad and stupid. But anyway, the team that really cares about baseline was there in a variety of ways. And I finally got to lay out this, like, it really needs to talk about progressive enhancement in the decision-making stuff. What do you see? If you're looking at this thing, and you're like, okay, Chris is about to talk about customizable selects. Here's a baseline widget. Oh no, look at these 2 X's. Oh man, bummer, dude. No Firefox, no Safari. That's pretty weak, isn't it? Which I'd agree. That's not great when you're looking at this type of thing. But it's like all this stuff is just progressive enhancement. If we look at everything we did today, and we'll be careful to handle browser support stuff, it kind of doesn't matter if Firefox and Safari don't support every single feature of this. But as a matter of fact, they support parts of it. Some of it will be styled and just some of it won't, you know? Like, I don't like to look at this baseline widget and be like, oh, you can't use it. It's like, this is not telling the story of whether I could or should use this feature. So we are talking about this though, angle bracket select, the thing in HTML, famously difficult to style. And that's what Brecht's talk was about. And that's what his blog post is about here, getting into all this really nice deep dive a bit. But of course we're developers and we don't actually read. We just scroll down until we see some code, of course, or pictures. So looking at this picture, this is much simpler than the Pokeball one that we just saw. But it's got like a pink background and a custom arrow. Can you do that already in HTML and CSS? Yes, you can already do that part. That's the thing. Like this part is already kind of customizable. Is it a little weird? Sure, maybe, but you can get cross-browser support for this deep pink part. I think it's probably just hot pink, the color, but that part of it is already stylable. It's this part, the thing that opens up, that's been more long-term notoriously hard to style. So seeing that, you're like, okay, we are truly in custom select territory. Maybe if you remember, there was a weird period where instead of select like this, it was select menu. That was weird. It was, the reason it existed is because it was kind of an opt-in. It means they didn't have to, browser people didn't have to mess with select. They're not going to break the web historically. They had a new element and they could allow the styling on the new element. It just was very hard to progressively enhance too. So they found a different opt-in that we can keep using select elements, but the opt-in is basically right there. Appearance, base, dash select. And even the dash select is kind of interesting. As we move forward in the future of allowing stylable form elements, it will just be appearance base. So know that. That's coming, but they couldn't do it yet because it felt like whatever styling decisions they make, maybe they have to break it one more time. Eventually we'll be able to set appearance base on a select too, but base select allowed them to like make choices now to get this thing out, knowing that they have one more change they could do with appearance base. I think that's basically how that went down. So, okay, stylable selects. You just use the regular old HTML element, but you have to opt in with appearance-based select, meaning you're applying it to the select element. That's what this ampersand is representing here with nesting, but Brecht is doing it only if the browser supports that particular feature. I think that's fine, although it'd probably just ignore it if it didn't know what it was. But weirdly, to me anyway, you have to apply it to this pseudo element as well. I don't know. I'm sure he explains that. I'm sure it's understandable to figure out why. For the rest of us who don't read, we'll just be like, that's weird, but it's a thing you got to do, so you just do it. Yeah? Cool. Let's just do it. And that's what's going on here. And then, I mean, kind of the good news is that like once you've done that, it's a matter of just styling stuff, just selecting it how you pretty much normally think it's going to work in CSS, and it will probably just take your styles just fine. Are there plenty of gotchas along the way? Absolutely, but for the most part, we just have all the control that we would want, and it's just a matter of like digging around in DevTools and finding the right thing to apply the right stuff to. But we've got the control now that it's happened, but you still get all the stuff you'd expect to get, like the keyboard stuff and tab stuff and all that stuff, which is awfully nice. So here's a little bit of a look at what do you call it? Anatomy. The anatomy of a select is we get a pseudo element for the little thing that hangs off there. So you could just set the content property on that probably and change it. There's a check mark pseudo, which you could just hide if you were going to do something else or replace with a different thing, an SVG icon, an icon font. I don't know. Don't do that, but you could. And then the ability to select which one is checked. And then the whole pink purpley thing here is this pseudo element picker select, which is a new thing, but that's what gives us kind of the parent style of the thing that opens up, which is awfully powerful, which is wonderful. So I'm sitting there at the conference. This is a reason to go to a conference. And Brecht is done and Tim is talking, and I'm like excited to start playing with this. So I whip open a CodePen and start playing with it. And I have this idea, right? Plus we knew kind of liquid glass was coming too, so that's on my mind a little bit. But I'm thinking about mobile and stuff. It's like, what if you open a select menu and instead of it being like anchored directly to the select, that like if on mobile, it would actually just slide out from the bottom of the screen, like put the options down by where your thumb is. I just seemed like a neat idea. And then like how much styling can we give it? Like how weird can we get with the styles, but it still like feels like a select menu. Uh, what could we do there? And I was like, wow, what if they like staggered in, but they came from the bottom of the screen and all that? And I started messing with it. And then, of course, pass it over to Brecht, and he starts messing with it. And Una is there from Google, and she's writing down the requirements for the idea I have in mind, and she's going to take a crack at it too. And I invite them all to the pen in CodePen, so we'll start messing with it eventually in here. I think was a fun thing to do, and we're leaving notes for each other and stuff. And it was just a cool moment at a conference, I think. So I wanted to share that with you, and we can get into some of this more of this customizable select stuff. But I thought, gosh, there's so much CSS in here, and it's just, lunch on a Thursday. I wasn't totally prepared to do like a polished video where we're writing it from scratch and looking at every property. I thought it might be more fun to look at what Brecht did, and then come up with our own variations, and maybe look at some of. Una has an amazing collection of all kinds of different customizable selects in CodePen already that are worth playing with. Look at how styled that is. It looks like this would be totally faked, but that is just a select menu. I think that is so cool. Let's look at this one though. Maybe I'll split these for a moment. And Brecht called it for Chris. Thanks, Brecht. What a nice job. So he already accomplished in just this pen the ability for it to come up from the bottom. So if I just merp, look how they come up from the bottom. Now, can I vouch for that being like the greatest idea in the world? Is it weird that they're not attached anymore? I don't know, maybe. It's just an idea, and I thought, well, maybe on mobile it makes more sense. Like if something slides up from the bottom of the screen on a relatively small screen, that's pretty obvious, and it just might be a benefit depending on what you're doing. Like it could literally be closer to your thumb and actually easier to work with. I will say I feel like I'm bouncing around a little bit, but one of my goals was to have them be like a grid, like a 2-column grid of options. And that idea really didn't have legs, because when you're inside of an option, watch me use the arrow key. The arrow key is what goes up and down between them. And as soon as you turn that into a grid, like the temptation is use the left and right keys, which do not work in there, which was very interesting. I feel like that would have been kind of an accessibility failure. And just right then, or like hours later, Una made a ticket in the appropriate place in GitHub that talked about that. Maybe there's a way to indicate how your options are laid out with custom styling so you could get different types of keyboard support. So how is this pulled up? How does it come in from the bottom like that? Surely that's not not going to be easy, and indeed it's not. So let's see. How does this stream actually look? Can you see pretty well? Okay, that seems fine. I don't know. If somebody really needs me to like bump up the font size or something, I can. Just let me know in chat. I haven't had a chat yet. Pretty chill stream, but thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. We're really just hanging out. We could go anywhere with this. I like this little bit of code. Let's just get into the code and start looking at it and start messing with stuff as we need to. This bit of code, it's leaning into CSS nesting, which just looks kind of nice. And it starts out with appearance none, not appearance-based select, but appearance none. And what that's doing is setting up the ability for this part. You can see my cursor okay, can't you? I'm circling the select option itself. It kind of wipes away some default styling. So as we start styling it, it's going to apply the styles to it in a way that we'll be able to see across Chrome and Firefox and Safari. So we needed to kind of set it up for that. But then like if we're in, fancy Chrome now or Edge, it always says Chrome and Edge. And I hate to be a hater, but it's like, dude, it's the engine. You don't say Chrome and Edge and Vivaldi and Arc and it's Chrome. It's Chrome. Deal with it. I don't care about Edge. You don't have to specify Edge. It's just one of many Chromium browsers. Cool. Then we apply this thing, and this is setting up saying now everything is stylable. Now the thing that opens up is style. You just open season on styling stuff once we've applied that. So it's just kind of a nice little snippet to use. I don't mind that it's separated from this, because like this is the setup chunk. We can just close that for now. Maybe actually it would be easier to go classic style like that, so I can look over here. I don't know, it feels like nicer for some reason. Okay, so I don't know. What is a select default? I don't know, probably display inline. I think a select, you could have text on either side of it. Brecht has made it display flex here. And then look at this little custom arrow. It's a little piece of SVG. It's just applied via a background. Yeah, that's kind of neat. It's set off from the right, but not all the way to the right. You know, so if we put 20 here, it would push it even more in. But 10, I think, right? Oh, it's certainly moved it. 50. I thought that's what this was doing, isn't it? Am I crazy? The hot pink is here. If we go red, it is styling the select, isn't it? Oh, I think it's because that's what's going to show up, but we're about to override it with the picker icon and all that stuff. So this is what would appear in Firefox, which we could take a look at. I did all the work to make sure that I could possibly do this. So let's actually do it. I'm going to fire up Firefox for a sec. If it wants to open. And now you can see Firefox, right? I guess this is easier than sharing one browser window. Is like easier and safer as that is, then you can't see multiple screens like this. So now if I push this around, that's what's going to apply, right? Because it's, yeah, see how it's pushing it in? We're just about to override it. Good, I'm glad I'm not going crazy. I probably should have left that open, but what are you going to do? All right, so we're setting up all these styles. We're pushing away this background. Oh, thanks for the heads up, Alex. Some streaming issues potentially because of big tech. Oh well. Right, so we're pushing away the text and the icon because of the display flex, and we're giving it some widths. We're making sure things are aligned. We're adding padding on the outside. We have a nice little border here. We're changing the cursor when we go over it, whatever, setting some font weight. So we have lots of ability to make this thing. You know, we just opened Firefox, and all those styles applied and looked great. But I'm actually not going to close it. Can I just paste again and get there? As we open this in Firefox, we're going to get that kind of system. Hopefully you can see that system look of the select menu that just pops up. We have check. It's giving me levels. Talky talk. See if it comes back. I just like pushed in the frickin' cable a little harder. Maybe I need a better cable. I'm using like a frickin' lightning cable for it. It's probably $100 cable. You never know. Maybe it's the Elgato Wave XLR unit that I'm using. Yeah, swap that thing out. It happened last time too. All right, so this line is clutch. It's just saying if we're in the scenario where we have the totally customizable selects, now I can apply different styling. So basically right now it says like if I'm in Chrome, these styles apply. And that's nice because it means I can change the padding. It looks like Brecht is saying like I don't need as much padding on the right direction where I've applied this because now we have control over the icon via this new pseudo element that we wouldn't have access to in any other way. So I don't need as much padding there. I don't need to replicate the fancy background. I'm going to bring my own, but I'm going to apply it to this pseudo element instead. Pretty cool. And now that I have access to it specifically, and it's not just a background, it's actually like its own little pseudo element, I can animate it, or Brecht can animate it in this case. So he's applying it to the rotate property, and I guess let's go find where it's literally right after it. So it's saying the select, when it's open, the pseudo element that represents that icon rotates 180 degrees, just a flipperino, ease out. So as this opens, we have control over that now. Show me that in a select otherwise. That's amazing. That's an amazing amount of control, and we're just a few lines of code into this thing, which rules. And this is that other thing. This is that pseudo element, : picker select. I don't even know what this means exactly. Like the select keyword. I don't think it's a selector that's selecting select elements. I think it's like a keyword that means the picker that relates to select. It's a very weird thing. But we had to opt that sucker into appearance-based select too, for whatever reason. But now that we have that, we can go crazy on that. So the fact that this thing opens up now, has a white background. It seems like I don't know. Let's add some padding to it so we could see for sure what it would be. Background green, I guess. That's pretty far away from what we're doing. Yeah, okay. Now we have the ability to style just the background of that. I mean, like just the background alone is like an incredible amount of control over these things that we haven't had before. You can see there's a little border radius on it or whatever. So this picker select is the thing that's that we're styling. But putting it along the bottom of the screen, I think, was harder than it seemed like it was going to be somehow. That the default styles for this, like why is it that when you open a select menu, by default, and I think if I comment this line of code out, we'll see it, is right next to the select itself. Like, how does it know to be right next to it? Well, you think, well, I don't know, because it's a child, I guess. Maybe it's just the menu opens as a child of it. But it's not necessarily that. It's because, like, internally in the browser style sheets, it literally uses anchor positioning to anchor it there. Actually, that's like an amazing look, isn't it? What is happening there? But instead of that, we're like overriding it with a position anchor that doesn't exist. So this --HTML, if I do kind of a copy and then a find for it, it's like, that's it. It's right there. It's basically like applying a position anchor that doesn't exist, that fails. But I think Brecht is just trying to say, like, I just want it to be the whole viewport, so I'll just name it like HTML. I want it to be anchored essentially against the entire viewport, which is what happens when the position anchor doesn't exist. I think that's how that's working. But I want to put it along the bottom instead. So this line of code would be really easy to miss. I think if you're trying to style these things and push them around and you didn't do that, I remember it was frustrating me. I'm like, I just want to position fixed it and I want to put it along the bottom. What's so difficult about that? And the difficulty was that I was fighting against user agent styling that was using position anchor to put it somewhere specifically, and it was like having a bit of a battle. So bottom 0 here with an overridden position anchor is what's allowing it to be along the bottom of the screen here, which is pretty rad, I think. And we're, making it, by default, it's pushed down, and then only when it's open does it translate to 0. So that's how it comes up from the bottom. Like it's sitting there, and it's display none. Like when a select is closed, the picker select is display none. And then when you open it, picker select becomes display block or whatever. So if we need to animate it up, but we also need to be animating the display property. And it's absolutely crucial that we put allow discrete on it so that you can see the animation. In fact, I'll just comment that out. I think what's going to happen is it's still going to show up. It's just going to immediately be there, or it's immediately going to go away in this case, because we kind of had to do them both. If you want something like this to animate both in and out, you need to use these allow discrete animations, apply them to both the overlay and the display, and use starting style. Starting style is what is helping us the come in animation. So it's just kind of a lot of code to pull it off, but probably worth it. So again, we're targeting picker select, which is the thing that opens up when you click the select element. This thing that's on the bottom for now. I'll get rid of the padding. The padding was a weird detour, wasn't it? Okay, and we're saying that thing is going to be animated. We're going to animate its position, its movement, because it's off the screen to begin with, and we're going to animate it onto the screen. We're going to fade it in. We're going to deal with the overlay, which is actually, I'm not fully convinced that we need to deal with that. That's usually a thing that relates to dialogues. But do we need it? We do actually need it. Look at this weird behavior if we don't do it. So I can't tell you, I can't explain that perfectly to you yet, but apparently you need to animate the overlay as well to make that smooth, and then display. Overlay is weird just because it's not a property. It's not animating something called overlay. It's a keyword that does something special that we're not prepared to talk about. So, okay, now allow discrete is there, which means essentially what it's saying is that instead of like flipping, because there's nothing to animate with display. It's like block or none. There's no room to interpolate it. What really matters is when does it flip? And normally it flips like either right away so that you don't have an opportunity to animate it because the thing just appears. Or it waits till the end of it, depending on if it's going in or out. It just flips the position either, and then instead of right away, it happens at the end, and then it happens at the beginning on its way in. It's like the worst keyword in the world, but it just means like do the opposite thing you normally do when you're transitioning the display property. Okay, now we have the ability to target open. So this is, the ampersand here is select. So we're saying when the select is open, target this thing again. Now, it's still on the bottom. It's still with 100%. Maybe the repetition is necessary here. I wouldn't be surprised. But we're fading it in. But as it immediately shows up, like as it appears in the DOM, as display none goes away, it is down below the screen, and then it's going to come back up here. So that's just, it's what's allowing the come up thing. Merp, 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 merp. Very impressive and cool, right? This one confused me earlier too. So there's option here, and I'm like, oh, shouldn't we put the option selector like within this? Because the options are children of this select. Hey, Leah, welcome. Thanks everybody for listening. That's pretty rad. All on Twitch too. I feel like I prefer the Twitch streaming thing. Yeah, pretty cool. Is this option like a child of this parent? It's like we've done all our thinking about this thing that opens up. This thing contains these options. To me, it feels like the parent of these options, but it really isn't the parent of these options. I think it's just weird. But it's because it's a pseudo element. I don't know. It's just the decisions that were made. So if we look in DevTools for a moment on this select, here's our select. Lovely. The options are children of the select. That makes sense. The picker icon is a pseudo on there. Very satisfying, right? But then there's this shadow root. And I think the shadow root just appears immediately when we set appearance-based select. And there's just stuff in there, a bunch of stuff. And one of the things that's in there is the picker. There's the picker. That's the thing that we can select with : picker and start applying styles to. But it's just this thing in the shadow DOM. These options, which we have the ability to style, are not really children of picker select. They're just not for some reason. There's a slot in there, I guess. I guess it's that web component concept of a slot. So the options kind of get moved in there. But as far as like CSS selection is concerned, they're still children of just the regular old select. And there's the backdrop, I guess. That's probably the thing that is related to the overlay, which allows us to click and close it too, doesn't it? Okay, I'm just required to chase that down for a minute. So if we, how do we select the backdrop? Can we go backdrop? Is that a thing that you can do? Background black? Do you put it on the select is the question. Yeah, clearly not, but there's probably a way to do that. I was just thinking, like, could we ruin the world if we accidentally selected the backdrop and put like, pointer events none on it or something? How do you select the backdrop? : backdrop is on the picker. So if we pick that up and put it in here, are we now selecting it? I don't think you can select two pseudo elements like that. I don't think that's a thing you can do. So I guess you can't really style the backdrop on a select like you can a dialog. That's probably intentional in some way. But it's a thing to watch out for, though. Not the backdrop necessarily, but if I'd made this picker as tall as the entire browser window is, I don't think there'd be any way to close it. So can we go like height is 100% or better 100 dBH? Yeah, so, I can select an option, but if I don't want to select an option, there's nowhere to click. Oh, it gave me like the tiniest bit of room above it to click, even though I said 100 dBH. That's weird. I wonder if that's intentional too. There's like a sliver of space up there that you could click. But notably, I think is weird. The escape key doesn't not work. Nope, I'm wrong about that. I thought it didn't. If I'm here, can I hit escape? All right, so whatever. I'm just wrong. It gave me a sliver to click on and escape key works, but I do think that's kind of weird. If you want to bail out of this, it's not as intuitive as it seems to be. Anyway, that's a weird thing to do. But maybe it's not that weird. You know, if you're like, I don't know, choose pizza toppings and you open the select, couldn't you see it taking up the whole screen? And if it was a multi-select being like, pepperoni, green peppers, whatever, and you're selecting it, and then like, how do you close it? I don't know. There's not a great opportunity to put an X button. Although now that they're super stylable, maybe an X does make sense. But then you're like selecting the X, not maybe you lose your pepperoni selection then. Anyway, that was a heck of a detour there. But anyway, this is the code that's allowing it to come in from the bottom and animate back out towards the bottom. Height craziness. And I think that is just amazing. It's tempting to me to wrap some of these styles in a media query for size. So if we're going to write a little bit of code, maybe let's mess with that. So this bottom, could we write, and I don't have a big problem with doing it media style on this one. Oh, picker select backdrop can work. Interesting. I wonder what I was doing wrong. I thought I put it in here. Anyway. So can we use this, like width is smaller than, say, 500 pixels or something, then we'll put the styles in that attach it to the bottom, which includes this anchoring thing, remember? And all this translate business. So we'd say, can we... Oh, now I've forked it because I was on Brex, but that's okay. Can I just turn on format unsave? It is. There we go. So now it's, the browser knows why, but if we get pretty narrow, it kicks to the bottom. So that's like the mobile view, and that's the width is now wild too. Should we, what does it say, width 100% in here somewhere? Yeah, maybe we'll make that a mobile concept as well. So this should shrink now, right? No, they're still super wide. Why are they wide? Are the options being forced to be super wide somewhere? I guess it's DevTools time. Why are they so wide? Computed. They're 400 some pixels wide. Why? Is the width being set? It's not being set. What does it mean in computed styles when it has italics? What does it mean? The select itself isn't that wide, so something's forcing the options to be really wide, but I'm not sure what it is. It's got some padding. Is it a user agent style sheet that's doing it? Is it the no wrapping styles? I doubt it. I guess we could just be specific about what we want. So we're saying that we are saying, yeah, but it's only applying that at small screen. So what do we say for it here? Like fit content or something? That way we're specific at desktop sizes. We don't want it to be enormous. What if it's 250 pixels? Is that cool? Man, something is really forcing this thing to be super big. I wonder if that's the positioning too. It has to do with the anchor. Maybe we need to abort the anchor. No, maybe not. I've managed to confuse myself now. So these options are still rendering super wide. We're not sure why, because the select itself isn't that wide. But this thing, the picker, is the picker particularly wide? It is, even though we're telling it. Aren't we straight up telling it to not be particularly wide? Oh, there it is. I see. So when picker is open, that's the problem. It's just turned out to be a very simple problem. Okay. That's weird, but I feel like that makes, wouldn't like all those styles, but we want it to just behave essentially like that or look like that when it's open and not there when it's closed. But then when we get small, it comes up from the bottom. I feel like that's reasonable. Maybe we'll take it a step further and fix the weird behavior here. So we'd only apply the starting style with this same media query. I guess this is yet another classic example why we'd want custom media queries, or what do you call them? It's like a custom property for a media query, at custom media. That's almost weird that it doesn't exist. Okay, and so that's almost there. It's just this transition, I feel like, is also probably only relevant at small screens. Right? So that's just instant open on desktop, which feels fine, but we get the cool opening effect on a small screen. That seems like pretty cool and useful. All right, so then the options themselves are stylable too. Like that line of code you just wouldn't see in old school CSS. There, I think like maybe Firefox supported like you could change the background on them something, but nobody did it because it was like just for Firefox and it was kind of awkward, and it certainly wouldn't take any padding and things like that. So the effect or the deal now that we can just select option and just start styling it and go crazy and do whatever we want is amazing. I mean, we could rotate 3 degrees probably. Look at that. Now we're just randomly rotating these things in the select. Like that's amazing that we have that level of CSS control over it, which is cool. Bally, thanks for the chat. Sorry to come back to this, but for future reference, nesting backdrop doesn't seem to work for some reason. I guess because nesting is equal to, it's using the is selector there. Yeah, it's the double colon thing. Maybe it's because of the is selector. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, I don't think you can do like double pseudo elements. Just are never children of themselves, or at least they don't express themselves that way with selectors. So yeah, you just got to use backdrop on a higher level element, I guess. That's cool. Did you test if you could set pointer events none on it and it breaks the ability to click it to close it then? As I just assumed that it would. Or display none even might do the same kind of thing. All right, so now, I mean, I guess that's it for this particular pen. But while we were sitting there, I did have some more stuff I wanted to try to it. I wanted to like make it a little glassy looking. I wanted to stagger them in and some things like that. So I have my own forked version of it here to play with that's similar but just a little bit fancier. Cool. Yeah. Because of our collaboration feature here, I was able to invite them and they could be co-editors of this, which is pretty fun. It means that it's in real time too, so we both get cursors in here and can play together. It's just kind of a fancy new feature of the new CodePen editor. We had real-time features before, but we didn't have the ability to just like one-off invite somebody to one pen. And now you do, and it's just been fun for me to like, we've been working on it forever, but to like do it in the real world with friends sitting at a conference was awfully fun. So it's still pink for now. I think it's probably time to start messing with the pinkness a little bit. But I had some other things I was trying to accomplish there. Oh yeah, that already looks kind of nice. White is kind of almost readable against the background there. You have to be really careful for accessibility on this. But the idea is that they stagger up. I don't like the black there either. Most of this code we've already looked at. It's applying the same supports. It's got the same little chevron icon there. But the background of the thing that it comes up in is transparent, which is kind of nice. I didn't apply the mobile styling to it. Maybe I can port that over here. This was my aborted technique of laying them out with grid. I guess we could kind of look at that and see what I mean. Yeah, see, it lays them out 1, 2, 3, 4, which is kind of cool. I know the black is hard to read, but then you open it up and you can use the arrow keys. But see how I'm on 4 now, or I guess my body is in the way. But it'd be tempting to use the left arrow key to go to 3, but you can't. It just like removes focus from it entirely when you hit the arrow key, which is very not cool. I was like, we probably shouldn't do that until the arrow key situation is a little bit better sorted out. So these options, what is setting them to black? Is it just because nothing's setting anything on them? Should I go color white on them? Yeah. That's more readable, I think. And then can I? Well, let's see. I open the console. That'll push it up a little bit. I think the glassy look kind of looks cool on them. There's a couple of things to make that glassy look work. That's not really what we're focusing on at the moment, but I thought you might get a kick out of it considering all the Apple news and stuff. The option is these options just don't have a background on them. And so backdrop filter works by blurring the thing behind it. So that's like the world's simplest way to do that. I've seen all kinds of fancier versions of backdrop filter blur. I've seen ones where they make a pseudo element and they like scale it up a little bit and then they blur that because it's a little bit more how glass works, and then they apply more saturation to it, which is also apparently how glass works and stuff. But really, for a one-liner, backdrop filter blur is actually pretty darn cool. And then I watched a Kevin Powell video the other day, and he had a cool idea for these for the borders there. The border is being applied transparent, and then there's a mask on it that allows this background on it to like basically become the border. So if this was red and this was black or something, you get this 1 pixel border around the whole element while still being able to use backdrop blur. It was the idea behind it, and it's just kind of a beautiful little technique where you're masking only certain parts of the mask to let the border shine through and not the background. I don't know. It was pretty cool. So I'm applying a little bit of transparent white of different values to it, which is just I think it's just a nice little technique, I guess. We still have some pink in there that we could pull out, but I feel like that's kind of a nice moment. And the staggering, which was the thing I wanted to pull off from the very beginning of this, I was like, this is one of those opportunities where sibling index function is kind of the perfect thing. Like sibling index of this very first option is 1. Sibling index of this one is 2. You don't need to do this thing that I'm doing here of applying custom property values to know what the index is. So like one that support for that drops, sibling index is the perfect thing to apply some transition delay and do staggering animation effects. It's like the perfect thing in the world for that. That's not working because we're actually applying it elsewhere here. Only when the select is open, the options have a transition delay on them. And instead of using sibling index, I can just use the index that I've manually placed in the HTML there. And then each one of them is smaller and opacity 0. So they stagger in as they're scaling, as the opacity is changing individually. It's just a heck of a nice effect, isn't it? I mean, I guess some of this stuff only works in Chrome for now because of the right from the very top of this and the custom select stuff, but that's pretty cool. Pretty cool, I think. Custom selects also have this concept in them, which I'm not really prepared to talk about, but it's a way it like clones the active option value up into it. So if it's like very important that you have some very fancy HTML in here that has like images or SVG or gosh knows what. It doesn't have to be just text anymore on these options. It can be all kinds of different stuff that you select from. Remember like the Pokemon one from the beginning of Breck's blog post? That's an IMG tag sitting there, or a background image potentially, but still, it's a pretty unique styling. And this thing ensures that it's going to like grab that HTML and clone it up into here, showing you which one is selected, which is a pretty unique thing. Yeah, Leah, I don't know when sibling index is going to drop for sure. Sibling index. And there's sibling count too. Maybe you saw it up there. Oh, that's funny. It's in the CSS tricks thing already. It's experimental. Is there a good browser support nugget on here? Is that in my video? Oh, Jeff did a whole video on it. Good for you, Jeff. That rules. Where's the browser support thing? As of June 2025. Wow, that's amazing. It's June 2025 right now. He's on the ball. It's only supporting Chromium-based browsers. You have to turn on a flag to use it. Track Chrome status. Yeah, Belly's right. 138. How far are we in? I know I'm in ARC. I need to get off of it. We're 137 now, so next version it's going to drop. I guess, yeah, dev trial means dev trial's over and then it ships on desktop Chrome, next version. Pretty cool, especially if it's used for something that's just like staggering animations, which is certainly a progressive enhancement kind of thing. So I think sprinkling that in is certainly a possibility. But there's sibling count as well, which is interesting. So like I said, you know, this is sibling index 1, sibling index 2, etc. But you could say select what's the sibling count, or I guess I don't know. Do you have to use it on the option, or can you use it on a parent and it tells you how many children it has? I'm not sure. I would think it would be on the option, because sibling index is on the option. Sibling count would be on the option too. So it would basically return 4. And then it gives you these options like, how should I style myself if there are 4 of me? Like, is 4 enough that it's time to go grid? Is 10 enough that I need to apply scroll bars? Is 20 enough that it needs to be a carousel? That kind of thing. So yeah, I think staggering is the #1 use case probably for sibling index, but you know, you CSS geniuses will surely do very weird stuff of it. In fact, at the conference, this was pretty cool. I lost it here. It wasn't Ahmed. It was Ahmed Shadid. You know Ahmed from his insane blog posts about everything CSS related. It was talking about layout generally. And have you seen that like CSS carousels stuff? Carousels, which is funny because it's not just about carousels. It's really just about scrolling areas anywhere. We played with this on a stream the other day. Ooh, my internet's not behaving, or this website is down or something. That's weird. But see, the carousels allow you to add like buttons and like, you know, we already had smooth scrolling, but of course it looks great with smooth scrolling to scroll through an area. But it's like, he had this idea that you could use sibling count to kick on a carousel. Like, let's say you have 2 cards, or you have 1 card, great. You have 2 cards, you should apply grid, because then they'd be side by side. You got 3 cards, maybe you start applying a more advanced layout. You have 10 cards, maybe then you turn on a carousel. You know, like having those kind of controls in CSS would be amazing to me. So yeah, the conference was cool in the sense of ideas that kind of smashed onto each other in a way. So anyway, I got to get the pink out of here, and then we'll call it. Pink is not working for me on this look. So when does it apply? It applies when the supports thing. It's the select is nested with an option, and then it's checked. So if we just looked for checked, surely we'd find it right away. All right, what's a more appropriate select? Maybe just we kick a white background and kick it to black or something. Yeah. Oh no, the hovers are still pink. Nothing against pink. Just saying. Maybe we like the way that borders are done makes it seem like it would be really hard to maybe we'll just do outline instead. One pick solid white when you hover. I wonder why Brecht went with where here. I guess because you get to, instead of saying and hover and focus and active, you only have to say and once. I don't know. My muscle memory for that is not quite there. Yeah, that's a nice hover style probably. I would be pretty concerned about contrast here. 2 on this light background is already not working. I don't know that's appropriate just yet there. I don't know. Should we darken it or something? I hate to be like showing so much stuff that has like serious color contrast issues right out of the gate. I feel like that's not like particularly smart thing to do. Where did we say background transparent? Right here, right? So the option would be, how would we apply a little black to it while keeping that? Can't we go linear gradient? Can you just say black? Can you say color mix in sRGB black and transparent of like 80%? Is that gonna fly? A 1 color stop gradient? Can you do those? First of all, is that a valid color at all? Did I write color mix correctly? I guess I did. So let's say it was 50% or something. If we're tint this with enough black, does that enough contrast now, would you say? I think so. Well, then what am I doing with a linear gradient? I don't need a linear gradient. I was doing a linear gradient because I thought, sometimes when you can't layer on top of each other multiple background colors because they're just on top of each other. I don't know. My mind was in a weird place there. That looks awesome. We've done it. So maybe I'll backport the mobile styles to it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Like, is it actually a genius idea that people should use in production? Maybe not. But at least it's, it's going okay. He's saying, or just RGBA with an alpha like old school 007. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that you can do those like 4-digit codes. Yeah, we don't need color mix. Although I do think that reads pretty nicely, doesn't it? Like, it's 50% black. But I guess that's the same as doing like HSL, 0%, 00, 0.5 would be the same kind of thing, right? Do I have the HSL things right? Or is that LCH that's that structure? Yeah, that's cool. But Leah's is even smaller. 0007. It's like James Bond with an extra 0. I guess that's the shortest possible way. Because isn't that short? Don't you double each digit, really? So it's 00, 0077. Do I have that right? Will that go black? Yeah, all right. It's just a shorter way of writing that, which is a 6-digit hex code and then 2 extra digits to represent how transparent it would be. Yeah. Oh, you're right. The color mix gives you the opportunity of doing other stuff. Like this could be a variable instead of black. It could be current color. Yeah, it gives you some opportunities there. But I feel like I learned it, so now my fingers reach for the more complicated thing. It's almost concerning to me that my brain didn't go to a simpler option. But I guess I'll leave it. I guess it showcases something in an interesting way. Ooh, that's cool. We could play around with staggering it from the bottom instead of the top, but I don't know. I think that's kind of good. I should probably get back to work anyway, but I'm pretty satisfied with the progress here. I don't know about white. Maybe, white we'd still be able to look through the background to see some blurriness or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking of ideas, but maybe we'll revisit it. Maybe we won't. But I'm about to sign off. I need like a cool sign off thing, like I don't know. Keep CSS in,